All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Michelle Arkusky, and I'm the Executive Director for She Is the Music. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, thank you for joining us today. As many of you know, it's March, Women's History Month, and we have some incredible programming coming up. Please sign up at sheisthemusic.org or follow us on Instagram for more updates. We have an amazing conversation today that we found was much needed in our community. So without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to our moderator, Marissa Moss. Marissa is a freelance journalist. She contributes to the Rolling Stone, American Songwriter, Billboard, NPR, and we're excited to get this conversation going. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks for handing it over. I'm Marissa. I come into this conversation with two kids myself. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son who may crash the meeting at any time, who knows, but I'm doing my best to keep them out. But I think we're gonna have a really great conversation today that, as you said, Michelle, I think is really needed for a lot of us, because I don't think we talk enough about what it's really like to be a mom in this business, what it's like to plan to be a mom, and everything that kind of goes with it. You're sort of programmed to just keep going. But anyway, if we could go around the room and talk about, give a brief introduction and talk about kind of what makes you a mom or a future mom, or who does rather. Yeah.
Who starts?
Emma, you want to start?
Yes. Okay, well, I messaged Hannah Babbitt, and I think I was a few weeks postpartum, and I didn't really know many other mothers, and especially many other creative mothers. And I wasn't sure if She Is the Music did have anything for mums. So originally I was just kind of wanting to be a part of a conversation, just to connect with other mothers, and then Hannah kind of was like, we don't have anything, but that would be a great idea. So I'm very happy to that you guys have done this. But yeah, I wanted to be connected to other people in the creative industry, other mothers, because I really don't know, many other mothers in my field. So I'm a songwriter and an artist, a performer as well. And I just wanted to know how do people do it?
And you have one child, right?
I have one son. Yeah, he's 7.5 months now, and he's the sweetest little thing.
Lesley, do you want to take it next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Lesley Olenek from Live Nation Touring. I have a 6-year-old daughter, Beatrice, and a 3-year-old, going on 4-year-old son named Jasper. My husband's a tour manager. I work with tons of artists in their on their tours, whether it be in North America or around the world. So definitely doing a lot of traveling. And with my husband being a tour manager, he travels as well. So it's a lot of juggling, but we've managed to set up a pretty good system, and I'm super excited to be a part of this conversation. I love working with She Is the Music, and we just want to come here and kind of, I guess, be real and talk about the struggles, because it's definitely challenging. I think every week there's a new challenge, but I think it's good to have other women supporting one another, and we're just figuring it out as we go. So thanks for having me.
Kelli, you want to take it next?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelli Andrews. I am operations manager at Wonderland Art Society. I'm also on Janelle Monáe's management team. I have a son named Luke, who's 11, and a daughter named Ari, who is 8. I actually managed to have Luke before I joined the industry, the music industry. So I kind of snuck one in after, but I am grateful to be here at, when I joined the industry, this, the setting has been really, male driven. It's a lot of males in this industry. And it would just be really special, like when I would be able to work with other women like Lesley. And then it's like an added icing on the cake when you find out that, this woman is a mom. And it's like instantly like, oh my God, they know what I'm going through. We have so much in common, like we can relate. So I'm happy to be a part of this panel today and connect with other women in the industry who are mothers or who are planning to be mothers.
How about you, Jaime?
Hi, I'm Jaime Zeluck, Kinlan. I am founder, owner of Nonstop Management. It's a songwriter, producer, management company based in LA. Some artists as well. I've been in the business for 12 or 13 years at this point, and started the journey to motherhood probably in my like 8th year or 10th year, maybe my 10th year, working in the business. And it was a bit of a challenge for me at the beginning. And now I have a 4-year-old daughter. Her name is Kate. And I have to say, I am so happy to be on this with all you guys, because for so long I was like, I don't know how anybody else does this. And I thought it looked so easy from the outside. And then when you're in it and you're like, oh my God, I'm managing clients, I'm working, I have to take care of my child, I want to be there for her. And then a pandemic hits, and then you're like home with your kid, and it's like a whole other level of crazy. It's like, it's so much harder than I ever thought it would be. It's amazing. And, I think having our children see us work this way is amazing, and they'll have role models, but it's also like, there are so many days where I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know how they do it, how we do it. And so when I was asked to join this, I was so excited because, just hearing other women and mothers, experiences that are in the business is super helpful for me, because it's a really specific business and it's a specific kind of dynamic. I don't think a lot of people outside of the business can relate to. So I'm really happy to be here and just chat with all you wonderful women and share my story and just, and hopefully shed some light on this whole thing. So thank you for having me.
And last but not least, if you want to take it now, Zukye.
Alrighty. Hi, everybody. My name is Zukye Ardella. I'm a producer and engineer. So as you guys may or may not know, there are not many women that are engineers, but I believe the number is like 2%, let alone mothers. So I was having a conversation once with Sarah Mary. She's a publicist from Sony. She also is one of the people who, handle everything with She Is the Music. And I asked her if she knew anyone who, did the same thing as I did, but was also a mother. And she said, no. She said, maybe one person, but that's it. So I'm actually coming here. I don't have any children yet, but I'm planning. So I'm coming here from the perspective of someone planning to build a family in a position that is very uncommon for a woman, let alone a female mother. I mean, sorry, a female mother, but let alone just an engineer and a mother. I'm coming from a different perspective.
And I think I'm so glad you're in this conversation too, because that's a whole other part of this that we don't, even talk about, that somehow the baby is just supposed to show up and you're supposed to just deal with the whole lead up to however the baby gets there. You just handle that, and however many, appointments you have to make to the doctors or wherever you're, however you create your family, we're just supposed to kind of deal with that and then just the baby magically shows up and you change your life for it. But just kind of starting with what were some of your biggest fears when you were, either thinking about starting a family now, or when you started thinking about, being a working mother in this industry?
I'll go first on that. My biggest fear is, losing clientele, not being able to make the revenue that I make now, people not working with me, and me having to also, sacrifice my relationship with my child for my career. I have to, choose between one and the other.
I can go next.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I had the same fear, just like how my employer at the time was going to respond. I was one of the first people in our department or females to have a child. I was like afraid of telling them I was pregnant. Tried to keep that a secret for as long as I could. And just worried that my opportunity to grow wouldn't be there. So yeah, I think similar, fears.
Have you guys, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I had the same exact fears, Lesley. At the time, I was working at a publishing company and was afraid to even ask to have time to go to the doctor. And, I did IVF. So it was I had to be at the doctor every day. And it was so scary to me to ask for that freedom, just I have to go to the doctor again, I have to go to the doctor. And so I was like, am I going to get fired? Am I going to get judged? Am I going to, am I going to lose clientele? All that stuff. And then it's weird. I didn't really have fears about what would happen when I would become a mom, because I just wanted to be one so badly. So it kind of worked in reverse. And then I was like, oh my God, all of these things I didn't even realize were happening. And now I can look back and be like, my biggest fear now and going forward is I don't want my child to feel like doesn't have me around because I'm working so much and feel disconnected from me. That's something that always comes up to me. And I'm like, how do you balance it? How do you show them that this is what is great, and, mommy should be working and can be working, but also just show them that you have time for them as well. And so my fear going forward is I just don't want my kid to be resentful to me in any way. But I think that's just the mom guilt thing that I think all of us experience.
The mom guilt thing is I'm just trying to navigate that. Because I don't know what's happening. This is so
I think
close.
if you're not talking, if you mute, then there won't be an echo.
Yeah, I can't find the mute button, but anyway, maybe that'll do. No, okay. I don't know what's happening. Wait, I might have to leave and then come back to wait a second.
It might stop if Jamie and Marissa mute for a second.
Oh wait, are you there? You can hear me. Okay, great. Sorry. I tried to get it up on my computer and then my phone, anyway, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, what I was saying was that the mum guilt is insane, because I'm trying to go back to work now, and anytime I leave Ellsworth, my son, I just it's the mum guilt it cripples me.
I think for me, it's very similar to Lesley and Jamie, but I was terrified to tell the people that I work with, and mainly because of lack of availability. I didn't want to be ruled out as oh, she can no longer travel anymore, or, we have to do all these things that we don't normally do around her schedule now because, she has children. I'm the only one on my team that has kids. I'm the only one on my team that's married. So my lifestyle is just totally different. And if you work with and you're around people who don't have children or even a significant other, sometimes they just can't relate. And it's yeah, it's Sunday night and we're having a conference call at 9 p.m., which is totally normal in my world now, but like, you know, it's just that adjustment of and the fear of, you know, like I might just be like on my own island over there, like nobody's paying me any attention, and you know, it's like I'm just pushed over there while everyone else is here, like moving and doing things within the company. So that was one of the fears that I had.
Yeah, I think one thing we were talking about when we got together a little bit before this was the importance of and the difficulty of setting those boundaries from the beginning, because I think we all talked about how we will in the future, you know, you hide your pregnancy for as long as you can, or you have to take a kid to the doctor, but you're like, oh, I'm just going to go do a conference call. And then you like drive across town to the doctor because you don't want to seem like you're being the mom, you know, but how that can kind of work against you over time, because then people don't, they never really notice that you're a mom. So they're not like, oh, okay, you have to sometimes go drop out and go deal with parenting mom stuff. So I'd love to talk a little bit about, you know, how you guys navigate that and set those boundaries while, you know, not like feeling like you're constantly, I don't want to say burdening people, but, you know, just kind of balance those two things together.
I mean, I've found like making just a really detailed schedule of like, you know, when I'm taking my kid to school, when I'm picking them up, when I'm, you know, if I need, like I started doing meditation because that helps me feel like more balanced and like less anxious, and like putting that in my schedule and not bending on it, because it's so easy to take those things that are important to you off your plate first to accommodate somebody else. But like that kind of throws off everything that's happening that day or that week. So I think it's like, you know, just as much as that 12 o'clock, you know, touring call is important to me, like so is that 15-20 minutes of meditation, or taking my daughter and my son to school, or, you know, making their lunch in the morning. And like if I can't be available to take them to school or pick them up, like I want to have some involvement in their day. So I think, you know, for me, making a schedule has been really important, but like I didn't know that that was important, and I wasn't able to juggle those things at the beginning. All I could do was like focus on my child, and I would question, should I keep doing this? Do I want to keep my job? Like, what am I doing? And, you know, my mom was really helpful, and she's like, you know, someday they're going to go to school, and she's like, you want your career because, you know, you're going to need that at some point. So, you know, try to push through it. And that's when I started, you know, connecting with other moms about kind of like my journey and the challenges that I was going through, you know.
I totally agree there with the getting in meditation and all that. I just recently started doing that and setting boundaries, because I had no boundaries for my entire career. I was like, oh yeah, everyone can reach me anytime. I'm available 24/7. Bother me on the weekends, late at night, on the weekdays, anytime. And that was like through my 20s and, you know, before I had kids. And then to reverse that, like that was really hard for me. It's still really hard for me because I feel like that's what I loved about my job, was being able to be accessible all the time. And like, if you need me, I'm here, like I got you. But then you have this kid that needs you, and it's like, and you have your husband who needs you, and it's a whole other thing. And so boundaries for me this year have been crucial. And it's like, I don't like making an announcement about it. Like I have a very hard time telling my clients like, hey, you can only call me from this time to this time. Like I don't do that because I'm scared to do that, which is messed up. Like I shouldn't be scared to do that, but I kind of just like am weaning my way off of just being like, I'm available 24/7. Like I'm just saying, hey, I'm with my kid right now. Like at this time, I'm starting to do it. I don't know why. Again, like there's that fear of saying it. It's like, no, we're moms. Like our kids need us. Like that time driving them to school when that happens again, or being with them, you know, for the little bit of time, you know, during the day that, you know, we get, like it's important. And yeah, last night I was on a call in bed with my daughter, and I was just like, no boundaries here. No boundaries. I have none. But
I think for me, I'll just make it quick, but for me, like Jamie, I didn't set boundaries, and I think I just had a fear again of like being on that island, and just, you know, not being a part of the team. But I think that this past year has shown that like family time, self-care time, etc., is more important than ever. And I'm seeing that there is a shift. I'm seeing companies, you know, welcome that, like, you know, take a break, sign off this weekend, etc. So I think that I just feel more positive about, you know, how this looks in the future. I do remember being on a call with a publicist, like our first call with her, and she said, we were like, okay, well, let's schedule our follow-up call. And she was like, okay, well, I can't talk on Wednesdays after 1 and Fridays after 1 because I'm with my child. And I was like, oh, like, she just did that. Like, that's amazing. That's so, I never heard someone say that out loud. And we were like on a call and I respected it. Like, okay, got it. She's with her children and she has set her boundaries. So we will schedule the call for Thursday. But like, it's just something that I think, you know, when you don't initially set it up front, you have extra work to do on the back end to try to like, you know, really enforce and implement boundaries. So my advice would be, you know, to start off with boundaries, even in any job, any career, and even if you don't have a family, it's like, you know, these are things that I value and this is what I need for myself. So I need to sign off now and we can schedule that for next weekend and not instead of Sunday night.
I think this, you know, kind of transitions into something that I think a lot about, and I think especially is probably something that, you know, you think about as a prospective mother too. And that's identity, and kind of like how when you have kids, suddenly your identity goes from one thing to a whole other thing. And I've had a lot of trouble kind of, you know, mixing mom me and journalist reporter me, and how, you know, sort of figuring out how other people might see that, or probably more importantly, how I see it. Is that something that you guys think about, or especially I think when, you know, now that you're thinking about having a family, what do you guys think about, you know, exploring that?
Sorry. I'll go. I mean, geez, I don't know. I wear so many different hats that I guess I'm constantly like shifting from these different personas, like wife, mother, daughter, promoter. But then I feel like a lot of the way I am with my family like transitions into how I am with my coworkers, and you know, like mentoring people that I work with is really important. People who don't have kids and who are just coming up in the industry, like I really love being, I guess, that kind of motherly type to them, but showing them that like I am a boss and I am you know, a badass, and people should respect me just like my male counterparts, you know. And going back to your last question when you were talking about you know, setting boundaries, like I hear my boss all the time talking to, you know, his clients and different people, and he's like, do you really want to talk to me on Saturday when I'm in the pool with my kid? Like, and it's just, you know, just not being afraid to speak up and say it. And I've talked about this on other panels, but just knowing like your place, and when you're in the room, you deserve to be in the room. So we need to, I think, support each other more, and whatever that role is that we're wearing at that time. Does that make sense?
I guess I'll go next.
I was going to ask you. Yeah.
So yeah, I actually never thought about, you know, losing my identity, or, you know, having one identity at home and then having to have another one at work. That's very interesting that you brought that up, because I try to have it translate. I do notice that a lot more people have children than, you know, you would think. It's just I work with a lot of men, so they're men with children. So I know it's very different from them. They could just leave home, you know, their wife or their girl can, you know, be with the kid and they come back with the kid. So you know, what you guys said about boundaries and stuff, I think it's good. Like it's a good idea to just be open with it and say, look, I have to be with my child at this time. I have to do this at that time, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I work with a lot of great artists that are very considerate, even though I also have some artists that aren't so considerate. You know, there is a situation I could think of offhand. There was a photographer that came into a session once, and she was, you know, taking pictures of the artist. There was about maybe 6 or 7 people. This is during COVID as well. Everyone didn't have a mask on. You know, she was pregnant and they were smoking in there. And someone was like, you know, why are you smoking? She's pregnant. And the girl, she seemed as though she didn't want to tell them to stop. She seemed like she felt like it was not her place to say, don't smoke around me. So she kind of like was, oh, you know, it's okay. So then when she left, one of the artists were like, well, you know, it's not my problem. She's pregnant. Like, she's pregnant, you know, not me. You know what I mean? Nobody told her to come here pregnant. And, you know, I'm sitting there listening and, you know, I can't be the woman that's like, you know, that's messed up. That's not right. Cause, you know, nobody wants to hear the token woman in the room advocating. But I know that that's actually more common than it should be.
That's such a real feeling. I think that I'm guessing that we've all had, is that like, you don't want to, it's really scary to be the one that kind of, you know, goes out on a limb, especially when you're, you know, you're the only mom or the only prospective mom or the only woman, and, you know, it's scary because you don't know if then you're just going to be labeled, you know, an annoyance or however, you know, no matter how much work you've put in the industry up till that point. I know it's always in the back of my mind. But I'd love to talk now, and I think this rolls into something that, you know, you brought up at your company, Lesley, is that like, what are some things, even, you know, sort of infrastructure wise, that we can do to make things better for moms? You know, is it like a daycare in the, you know, in the studio, or is it support from companies, or what are some real life things we can do to make it better? And also, we'll have a little, I should say, Q&A at the end of this. So if you want to drop questions into the chat, but yeah, I'll turn it over to you guys.
Well, I can talk about the program. Well, Live Nation has very progressive benefits, which was something that attracted me to the company. We have a 6-month maternity leave policy. We support women that need to do in vitro, or if somebody wants to have have gender surgery. Those are all things that are real, that we are living, you know, in this world today and need to support. But as I started at Live Nation, I was traveling a lot, taking my kids to shows. Michael Rapino, who runs the company, was following me on Instagram, seeing what I was up to. You know, I'd take my kids to festivals, to, you know, Seattle to see Janelle Monáe. I went to Australia with my family for Childish Gambino. And so he decided to create a program called Roadie Babies. And basically it supports working parents at the company that have a small child. I think it's up to 2 years. And you're allowed to bring a caregiver on the road with you if you need to travel for business, which is huge. Because, you know, previously I would take, you know, my husband, or if he was out of town, I would take my mom, or if she wasn't available, I would bring a friend. I remember flying to New York when my daughter was 5 months old. I went on an airplane with her by myself to do a pitch meeting with an artist. And my friend, who was an agent, his assistant, ended up watching my daughter at his apartment. I was like pumping in the bathroom at their office. There was a lot going on, and no one was helping me, and I was doing it by myself, and I did it and it was fine, but it was very hard. So just having someone to travel with you and come with you when your child is a baby, and not having to decide, should I go to that pitch meeting because it's important to my career, or should I stay home with my child because I do need to care for them or breastfeed them or whatever, you know, is important to you. So I thought it was pretty incredible that he took action in the moment to support, you know, his team and that way people like myself don't have to choose if they want to bring their child or stay home and you know, not pursue something that they're passionate about. So pretty incredible.
What else do you guys, is there anything else you think we can do to, you know, sort of change the environment for moms or prospective moms, or even, you know, to kind of encourage each other to, you know, take a little time for self-care, which is something that I think gets left off of this a lot, but what else can we kind of do to improve?
I'd like to chime in. I know we said this a few times, but immediately boundaries need to be set. Like from the beginning, like you said, Kelli, like it's like if you are going to be a mom, if you are, you know, if you just had a baby, like you have to set those boundaries and you have to take care of yourself. Like this last year, as terrible as it was, like I think a lot of people made time for themselves in ways that they might not have. I know I was, you know, I was forced to do that just because I got to like a breaking point where I was like, I have to take care of myself. And like, if this last year hadn't happened, I don't know if I would have done that. And so, you know, looking back, I wish at the beginning of being a mom and going on the journey to becoming a mom, I did that. All I did during that was work. I worked 24/7. I didn't take care of myself in the morning, at night. I was just busy with work. And then I started feeling so sick and it was like, I'm not taking care of myself, you know, like it's weird how it creeps up on you and you're like taking care of your clients and you're so worried about everybody else. And it's like, I just wish I could have told my younger self, like, that is so not important. Like what's important is your health, kids' health, your family. Obviously work is very important too, but just to know that like more than anything, family and yourself come first. Like that's my biggest advice to moms and people trying to get pregnant.
I think it's amazing that Live Nation is doing all that they're doing to support, you know, moms and people with families. That is one big thing for me that I'm struggling with because I'm an independent contractor. I don't really have the option for maternity leave or like the support of a big company or a label. So that is actually a reason I've been holding off for a while. Luckily, I have a lot of support from my partner. He knows how important my career is for me. So, you know, we're just trying to figure things out and figure out ways, you know, to work around it. I'm thinking about incorporating family members. My mother will drop everything. She lives in Virginia now, but she will move up to New York the moment I have a child and be a full-time nanny if I need her to. So that's great. But just overall, that's a big thing for me. And I haven't really met anyone who has had, you know, similar issues with that. If you guys have any advice or know of anything, I'm definitely open to hear it.
We got to get you that mom studio with the nursery and the no smoking section, you know?
Exactly.
Only open from 9 to 5. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. I think, first of all, more conversations like this, you know, I think that's the first step. I think allowing people to know, like, it's okay. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with wanting to start a family. Like, that's a beautiful thing. That's a blessing. Like, I think the first step is letting people know that it's okay. I think that something else that needs to happen, like more moms need to come together within their organizations in the way that like how things came about with Roadie Babies and Live Nation and Lesley. Like, I mean, I'm like the pioneer OG mom in my small company. We're a small company, but like I was the first to do it. So when it happened, it's like, we don't know, like, how does this work? Maternity leave, I guess, like, you know, we just kind of figured it out. But it's like now for the next person who wants to start a family, I can now say like, hey, let's make sure that this employee has these things in place when we send them an offer saying, you know, come work with us. Like, let's let's get these things in place so they can not have to go through what I went through. And what I went through wasn't bad, but it was just like, I was the first mom. So it was like, you know, how do we figure this out? How do we navigate through this when you wear so many hats? Like, how can we still keep things going when you're on a maternity leave? So I think just more communication, open dialogue. And then to my point earlier, the industry is shifting. And I think that, you know, there are more women in leadership positions and decision-making positions. And I hope that, you know, this kind of pans out in a way that, you know, just makes things easier for the future.
One thing that came up that we should probably talk a little bit more about is mom guilt. That came up very early in this conversation, because I know I'm sure we all think about it. I know I've never felt, you know, I've spent more time with my kids than ever, but kind of never felt more torn this past year, because you're doing both mom and work constantly at the same time, all the time now. And, you know, there's that feeling to, obviously we want to be there for our kids or future kids as much as we can, but everyone here has worked really hard for their careers and to get where they are too. And that's a great thing to show your kids too, that you're, you know, the importance of working hard and doing what you love and being a leader in your field. How do you sort of balance those two things and, you know, deal with that, you know, those pangs of guilt, but also those pangs to want to really show your kids, you know, all that you've achieved in your life and why that's important?
For me, it's an ongoing juggle. I mean, my kids are older, they're 8 and 11 now, but it's an ongoing, like, you know, it's a balancing act, a constant balancing act for me. I remember my son's first day of kindergarten. I like took him to school, kissed him, told him to have a great day, and jumped on an airplane to go be somewhere and for work. And I felt awful because I'm like, you know, I wanted to pick him up from school and like ask him how his first day of kindergarten went. But for me, it's just a constant juggle. And I do find comfort in knowing that, you know, they can see their mother like working hard. They see my work ethic. Hopefully, you know, I'm being a positive role model for them. And hopefully this will kind of help them to grow to be more independent individuals, especially, you know, as we're doing school from home and working from home, et cetera. But it's an ongoing juggle. So I always have the mom guilt. I do try when I can to make sure that my family is included on any perks, whether it's, you know, traveling for a show back when we could travel, goodies that come in the mail, like, you know, we surprised the kids with taking them to the Kids' Choice Awards last year, or 2 years ago rather, because I was able to finagle it. So it's like, I'm always trying to see like what kind of little, you know, what connections can I make so everyone could like get a treat for mom, you know, eating at the dinner table and being on a conference call at the same time.
I love that. Oh, sorry. I live with mom guilt 24/7. It like will not leave me. I just cannot escape it. But then recently like yesterday even, I was like, you know what? No, I was like, I'm having an afternoon to do stuff that I need to do and I don't care. And I just did it. And I was like, I felt really good. And then of course I was getting texts from my husband and then like FaceTimes from my kid and like, where are you? Why are you not? And I'm like, can I just like get out for a second? Like I just need a second, you know? And like, and my daughter will say to me, like, she recently started saying to me, because like sometimes when I'm putting her to bed, like I'm on my phone, I'm like, you know, she's like her head's down and like on my phone. She's like, Mommy, why are you always on your phone? And I was like, I'm not, I don't mean to be, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing that, you know, but then I also tell her that I work and, you know, and then on the flip side, there are some days where she's like, she'll take my computer and she'll be like typing and I'll be like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm working, like you. And it's like, so there's some days where she's like totally giving me the guilt. well, actually I get it every day, but then when she does that, I'm like, oh, okay. So like she's seeing it, and like, hopefully that will translate to when she's older and all that. But yeah, I live with mom guilt and I'm stressed 24/7 because of it. So
I feel like 4 is really hard, Jamie. I think 5 and 6 gets a little bit better. A couple of things, like my first year that my daughter was born, you know, I talked about earlier how I was thinking about like leaving my job and struggling with that. So I told my work that I wanted to work from home, which I did for like 9 or 10 months actually. And I was there for so long that I felt like I could say that, like I had earned that right. So I did hire help, you know, part-time, but I did want to be there for my child so I could see them crawl and walk and eat and do all the things that you know, would like to be a part of. Didn't have the same experience with my son, but also it was my second child. So I felt a little bit more comfortable having that time at the office and also being able to work from home when I needed to. Um, there was something else I was going to say, but now it's escaping me. But yeah, I think it's just, you know, setting those boundaries and not being able to speak up if you do need help. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is just like women supporting women. I can't say it enough. It's like every day I question when other women aren't supporting women. I just remember like when my daughter was born, I worked from home for, you know, like 9 or 10 months, and a couple of girls I worked with complained to HR because I was working from home. They didn't think it was fair. And it was like, it was just like the craziest mind-blowing thing. Like, how can you complain? Like, it's not like I'm just sitting at home with my feet kicked up while, you know, my baby is playing on the floor. So, you know, I just think this is so important to me, and I'm super passionate about just like helping each other and supporting each other. And I remember Pharrell saying once to me, I worked with him on a festival, and he's a really incredible guy. And he said, you know, there's room for everyone at the top. So you don't have to push people out of the way and, you know, uh, to try and get, you know, above them or ahead of them or, you know, bring them down. So, you know, I think just really emphasizing like supporting each other because we really need that is super important.
I'll do pose one more question to the group and then we'll take questions from everyone else. But and what's something that you guys do to give yourself a little bit of a break or a bit of self-care among all this? I mean, I didn't realize until this year like how much I needed that time going on a work trip and like setting up my alone time at my hotel and like being away from my kids just for maybe one night in a random town. Like I would give anything to like be at a hotel I'd never heard of before in a city. Like I don't even know where. That would be amazing. But what do you guys do to, you know, take some time for yourselves and away from your family and not feel guilty about it?
Honestly, this might sound bad, but I would enjoy sometimes going on work trips. So I, you know, can be away from all the shenanigans at the house with the children. But now that we're all home, I've been doing some yoga. We've been painting a lot. I think that's probably like my favorite thing to do in the family. I think it gets boring for everyone else, but it's so therapeutic for me. And just really like listening to music. I mean, just hanging out, kind of unplugging, chilling out, laying out, and just listening to music. Right now we're in Palm Springs, just like on a little mini quick getaway vacay, you know, with the kids. So when they finish school today, they can just go jump in the pool and I can just kind of have some time to just chill. So just kind of really finding it wherever and whenever I can. And trying to rely on the things that we have to, you know, for like self-care and self-soothing rather than like having to go somewhere all the time. But like, what can we do at home since we're in a pandemic? You know, we can paint, or if we do go somewhere, we can go on a hike. But those are the things that I've like recently kind of gotten into in the pandemic.
Same with me, yoga when I can, just in a room with the door locked, with my iPad, just leave me alone. Doing that and then going on hikes, because getting out of the house has been like so crucial. Because like even when I'm doing yoga here, she comes in, even if the door is locked, she'll like be banging, and it's like the hikes are definitely really helpful. So
Yeah, I agree. Hiking, running, yoga, the meditation I think is like super important. I talk to my kids and tell them what I'm doing. So if I'm working, I explain what I'm doing. If I am, if something dramatics happen, or someone's sick, or I'm like very open with them. If I'm doing meditation, I tell them what I'm doing and why. They do like mindfulness at their school too. So I find all those things to be super helpful. But yeah, like definitely getting away and having your own time, I feel like is critical. One thing that I wish I would have done that I didn't do with both my children is sleep train them. I feel like that's something that I also fell into the mom guilt I didn't do. And then to this day, my kids come in my room all the time, and that's really hard to get. If you don't have like a full night's rest, I think it's hard to have a productive day, just because you're so tired. So I really believe that sleep training is critical, and for anyone thinking about having a child, I highly recommend it. Otherwise they're just coming in your room all the time. The other night I had one on top of me, one next to me, and then Justin, my husband's like on like the edge of the bed, like almost falling off. So it's not good for anyone. So yeah, that would be my tip for the group.
Well, I guess we can take some questions now. We have a lot here, I think. All right. How different do you think your professional life would be if you had or hadn't had kids? Anyone want to take that one?
I think I'll take it. I think it would have been me not stopping ever, and not getting to like I wouldn't have slowed down at all if I didn't have a kid. And I haven't really slowed down, but it's gotten me out of the like, oh my God, 24/7 work, like this is the only thing that matters. Like it opened up my eyes to being like, oh my God, no, I am not defined by my career. Like I'm able to have a beautiful life and do that also. I feel like if I didn't have children, I didn't have a daughter, like I just would never stop. And then I just would come up for air one day, maybe when I'm 50, and be like, what did I just do? Like it got me to slow down and appreciate that.
I have a question for you, Jamie, about that.
Yes.
Do you feel like you were happy when you were going nonstop and 24/7? Because I feel as though that's where I am right now. And I love my job, but yeah, that's pretty much all I do.
I was when I was younger, like when I was in my 20s. I'm 36 now. Like when I was in my 20s and just going nonstop, I loved it. Like I loved it. And I was like, you know what? I want to work as hard as I can throughout my 20s. And it kept me really happy. And, I still do that, but now it's just different, but I liked it when I was doing it like that. And I'm still doing it like that. It's just different. My company is called Nonstop for a reason. But like, yeah, you enjoy it to a point, right? And then it's like, okay, but there's got to be more to life. And I always wanted to be a mom. So like, that was always like, okay, at some point I'm going to focus on this, but I'm also going to still work. But how is that going to even happen? And yeah,
I have a question. piggybacking off of that, I have a question for all of you guys, because I am still in my 20s, but I'm at the end. So I'm gonna be 29 in a couple of months, and it's like a battle, because my family, they're in my ear like, well, time is ticking, you know, if you don't do it now, you're gonna be too old. And then I have the career, like, but this is the time is now, like, you're really where you want to be. Like, if you pop out a baby right now, I don't know, it might like it might put a halt on everything. So it's like a battle. And I was talking to another artist who is in the same place, we're the same age, and she was saying, and I'm not sure if this is right, and this is what I want to ask you guys. She said you either have the kids young before you like really get into your career, or a little older when you're already really set and pretty much where you want to be, where you can, you know, organize everything around your career and your workflow. What do you guys think about that?
I don't really believe in that personally. I think that, I mean, my son was not planned and I freaked out. But there's never the right time, in my opinion. Like, where you're always gonna wish that you traveled the world first, or that you make this amount of money, or you live in this kind of house first, and you will adjust. Like, it happens the way it's supposed to happen. Like, everything pans out. And I don't think that having a baby is going to halt your career if you don't want it to, because you figure it out. Like, we are super women. We're badasses, and we figure the shit out. Like, it's not, I mean, there's so many people that are like, oh, I wanted to do all this bucket list of things before I had children. And the truth is, in my opinion, like, you figure it out. You find time to do it. You might take a 6-month break. You might be slow for 6 months. But then you're going to pick it right back up. You're going to figure it out. You know, for me, like, my theory is like, you give yourself that window, and everybody's journey is not the same. You know, some people unfortunately have complications and it takes them longer to recover. But like, for me, like, have your baby and then, you know, like 7 months, God willing, you know, you're able to still like move and shake like you wish, you know, like you, as if you weren't pregnant. Then you have like maybe 6 to 9 months after that, give or take, where you're like figuring it out, like, you know, sleep, you know, you're finding you're always searching for sleep, or maybe you're nursing, or maybe you're not comfortable leaving your baby with somebody yet, you know? So it's like, everybody is different, but like, if we keep, in my opinion, this is all my opinion, obviously, but if we keep waiting for those, like, oh, I want to be here in my career first, I want to make this amount of money, I want my partner to be having their dream career first, you will be waiting forever. And then you will be in the age where it could potentially be more complicated, you know, to actually conceive. So like, I'm of the belief that everything happens the way it's supposed to, and we adjust, adjust. And you look up and you have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old, and you're like, I don't know how I did this, but here we are, and I'm juggling and I'm wearing several hats and I'm making it happen.
I
agree.
sorry.
Go for it, James.
I just want to speak to that that question you asked, because I had a really a hard time when I had my daughter. I had heart failure when I had her, which is like a whole other thing. But what was supposed to be 3 months of maternity leave was turned into like taking a year pretty much off, maybe like 9 months. It was like, you can't work at all if you even recover. Like, we don't even know if you'll be able to ever work again. And I was like, what are you telling me? Like, my whole, you know, plan was to have the baby and then go back to work and and like, I had to completely change my life and had to be like, oh my God, like, okay. It just like, it got in the way. And I was like, so pissed that it got in the way of like, well, I was so pissed that I almost died when I had my daughter, but also was just like so frustrated because I had been working towards a certain goal in my career. And then a lot of it got derailed. And before that, it was trying to get pregnant. I had been pregnant before and I had lost a baby. So then it was like years of IVF to get to this baby. And like, I felt so behind in my career because I was trying to get pregnant and then recover. And I was like, oh my God, I've lost like 2.5, 3 years of like, but I was still working, but I felt like I was so behind. And then it was just like, you know what, like, it just figures itself out. Like you said, Kelly, like it just figured itself out and you can't really plan anything. It happens the way it's supposed to happen. And like, you know, your career can always be there. You can always come back. You can always make a new beginning or, you know, and that's what forced me to leave where I was working and start my own thing. Like beautiful things come of like the unexpected stuff with this. Like I was never one that could like fully plan things. Like I got pregnant the first time, it wasn't planned either. So, you know, it just works itself out. So anyway.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you can't control things. And I think, I don't know if it's as women or we like to have control and be in charge. And, you know, both my kids were in the NICU. I had challenges with both my pregnancies. And it's like same with Jamie, like I was always working. I was like booking a festival while my son was in an incubator. Like that's not normal and that's not okay. And I think it's like stopping and looking at like where you are in that moment. And it's okay to take a pause, like Kelly said, and step away from it. And it is going to be back there when you're ready. You know, a girl that I used to work with, Ellen Liu, she's very wise. She's much younger than me, but when I left my previous company, I was like, aren't you going to jump in and like take over these venues and do all the stuff that I was doing? Like she was set up for it. And she was like, I don't think I want that. Like, I don't, like, that's not for me, you know, and to be able to look and recognize that like, you don't have to take something that's right in front of you just because it's there. And maybe you're not ready for that. And it's a lot of responsibility or it's a big lifestyle commitment. It's okay to take a pause, you know, and figure out like what's really important for you and what you need. And don't just do something because everyone is, you know, expecting you to do it, or because you think that if you don't take that opportunity, another one's not going to be there down the line.
Yeah, I think the one thing I've always found with motherhood is that no matter what, you can't plan it. Everything just happens differently. And my son was also in the NICU, and that just screwed up all my plans that I had for, you know, breastfeeding and having a newborn and all of that stuff. It just went out the window that I thought. And you just kind of learn to not have plans anymore and adjust as you go along. But thank you guys for having this conversation. I think it's really important that we're all talking more and bringing these issues to the forefront and, you know, finding ways to support each other and, you know, pressure our companies to support us when we can and when we're in the position to do that. So I hope we'll all continue this conversation with other women and moms and parents in our private pandemic lives as well.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for having us. This was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I want to say one thing really quickly. It looks like I'm just like catching up on all the messages in the chat, and it looks like the chat has really created its own support group. And so it's it's really awesome, like seeing all these comments and other, you know, people talking to each other and just venting about what they go through. So, I mean, like, this is part of that first step, you know, so.
You can save the chat too. If you go to the little 3 dots, you can save the chat if you want to connect with other people.
We're going to create a Moms in Music Facebook group on our She Is the Music Facebook page. So everyone on here, please look out for that. And I think we want that to be a resource for people to have more conversations like this more often. So stay tuned for that early next week.
Thanks, Michelle, for having us.
Thank you for having
me.
everyone. That was amazing. Thank you.
Thank
so
you,
much.
ladies.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.